In an era where attention is currency and curated lives are broadcast continuously, the human tendency to compare ourselves with others has intensified into a pervasive cultural dynamic, the social comparison trap. Far from a harmless pastime, chronic comparison fuels a cycle of external validation seeking that erodes well-being, corrodes authentic self-direction, and deepens vulnerabilities already implicated in anxiety and depression. Understanding the psychological mechanisms that sustain this cycle, and learning how to interrupt it, offers a path toward more grounded definitions of success and a more durable sense of contentment. The mechanics of comparison, why it hooks us. Social comparison is a basic human process. We gauge our abilities, status, and worth relative to others to navigate social environments. Evolutionarily, this made sense. Relative standing affected resources, alliances, and survival. In modern contexts, however, the metrics have become both more arbitrary and more visible. Social media platforms, professional ranking systems, and consumer culture supply endless, carefully edited comparison points, likes, follow accounts, promotions, luxury possessions, turning comparison into a constant background computation. 3 psychological mechanisms intensify its grip. First, contingent self-worth links identity to external outcomes. When self-esteem depends on outperforming peers or earning approval, any comparison becomes high stakes and emotionally charged. Second, upward social comparison, the tendency to compare ourselves with those perceived as better off, triggers feelings of inadequacy and fuels striving for more, often without a clear endpoint. Third, the hedonic treadmill and adaptation mean that achievements and acquisitions quickly become baseline expectations, so initial boosts in satisfaction dissipate and prompt further pursuit. Combined, these processes create a feedback loop, more striving for external markers, temporary relief or pride, rapid adaptation, renewed dissatisfaction, and renewed comparison. Consequences for mental health and functioning. The social comparison trap contributes to a constellation of mental health harm. Persistent upward comparison correlates with increased depressive symptoms, anxiety, and lowered life satisfaction. It amplifies rumination and fear of judgment, exacerbating social anxiety and isolation even as people pursue greater visibility. For those with pre-existing vulnerabilities, perfectionism, neuroticism, or histories of trauma or brain injury, the emotional toll can be especially severe because regulatory capacities for emotion and self-evaluation may be compromised. Clinically, comparison-driven distress often presents as chronic dissatisfaction, compulsive online behavior, burnout from endless achievement seeking, and identity confusion. Reframing success, psychologically informed strategies. Escaping the comparison trap does not require rejecting ambition or social connection. It demands recalibrating the standards by which we measure success and reorienting motivational drivers from external validation to internally grounded values. Evidence-informed strategies include: clarify values and intrinsic goals, articulate what truly matters, relationships, contribution, creativity, learning, and set goals aligned with these values rather than visible markers. Intrinsic goals predict more stable well-being than extrinsic, status-driven aims. Cultivate self-compassion and decouple worth from outcomes. Shifting from conditional self-esteem, I am valuable if, to a stance of self-compassion reduces reactivity to comparative feedback and buffers against shame when standards are unmet. Practice downward and lateral comparison strategically. While upward comparison can motivate, it often demoralizes. Comparing with one's past self, lateral, although slightly less advantaged, downward, can provide perspective and reinforce achievable growth. Limit curated exposure and design digital hygiene. Control the inputs that fuel comparison, unfollow accounts that provoke envy, set time limits on platforms, and structure intentional, bounded consumption rather than passive scrolling. Build competence through mastery experiences. Pursue activities for skill development and intrinsic satisfaction rather than external recognition. Mastery provides durable self-efficacy and reduces dependence on comparative validation. Foster community and authentic connection. Deep interpersonal ties emphasize mutual care over status display, reducing the need to perform or compete for worth. Use cognitive restructuring and behavioral experiments. Clinically informed techniques, identifying automatic comparative thoughts, testing predictions about outcomes when standards change, and scheduling comparison-free activities, help weaken automatic comparison habits. Therapeutic and preventive framing escape from social comparison as psychological self-care aligns with therapeutic traditions that prioritize autonomy, meaning, and adaptive regulation. Therapy can help disentangle early attachment and developmental histories that contribute to contingent self-worth, teach emotion regulation skills, and support value-driven goal setting. Preventive public health approaches might include media literacy education, workplace cultures that reward collaboration over constant rank ordering, and platform design that reduces visibility of raw social metrics, for example, hiding like counts. A pragmatic path forward. Real change requires both systemic shifts and individual practices. Technology companies, workplaces, educational systems, and media institutions can redesign incentives and norms to de-emphasize always visible benchmarking. Individuals can simultaneously adopt compassionate, value-centered practices that reduce dependence on external affirmation. Small, consistent changes, turning off notifications, regularly reflecting on values, cultivating hobbies for intrinsic joy, or having candid conversations about curated online lives, compound into meaningful shifts in perspective. Conclusion: the social comparison trap thrives because it leverages deep-seated social motives and modern information ecologies to make comparison nearly automatic. Yet it is neither immutable nor unavoidable. By understanding the mechanisms that sustain comparative striving and applying psychologically informed strategies, clarifying values, fostering self-compassion, redesigning one's informational environment, and seeking mastery and authentic connection, people can reframe success away from external benchmarks and toward durable well-being. Escaping the endless quest for more is less about renouncing ambition and more about reclaiming the basis of that ambition, aligning it with what genuinely nourishes the self rather than what simply impresses others.